on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
It's 9 p.m, I'm Patrick Christys, and tonight, bombshell, never-before-heard exclusive recordings of Britain's most notorious jihadi.
Views that we hold, and I can speak for all of them, are based on very, very clear, defined scripture. And no amount of talking to by a so-called theologian or police officers or judges is going to change those views.
ISIS fanatic Anjem Choudhury is today accused of inspiring Hashim Abedi to allegedly attack prison officers behind bars. I've got clips of him talking about life in that very prison.
You can collectively completely ignore the prison infrastructure and the officers there.
I'm asking, should Islamists be kept in solitary confinement for life? And record channel crossing 700 came today alone, as Labour are urged to let them all work. Would this be the final nail in Britain's coffin? Also this evening,
greetings to Muslims at the start of the month of Ramadan.
Really fantastic to be able to come together and to celebrate the contribution of British Sikhs to our nation.
Thanks for having a ride. How are you? Happy Diwali. How are you? You okay? Thanks for stopping the rain. Great to be back.
Well, the Prime Minister wishes everyone a very happy Nepali New Year, but nothing on Palm Sunday or Holy Week. Is he shunning British culture? Plus,
my message would be, I really feel like people need to start taking the victims more seriously.
Shadow Justice Minister Robert Jenrick joins me live to demand that Labour release censored court documents relating to grooming gang monsters. What are they trying to hide? And
mammoths went extinct around 4,000 years ago.
But now they're back to kill us all. The World Health Organization has an astonishing warning for the world, and it was a bad day for some Americans.
Out here with our audience, so
I'll reveal exactly what goes on there. On my panel tonight is GBNews presenter Alex Armstrong, the broadcaster and columnist Esther Kraku, and journalist Jonathan Liss. Oh, and what happens when one person decided to try and eat on a train near a dog?
Mana, mana. Mana, mana. Mana, mana.
Trust me, it gets even better than that. Get ready, Britain, here we go. If Keir Starmer lets illegal migrants work in Britain, then it's game over. Next.
Good evening. It's just gone 9 o'clock. These are your headlines. The White House press secretary has said the US currently have 15 trade deals that are being actively considered. Speaking to reporters, Caroline Levitt said some deals with some countries will be announced very soon. Earlier, US Vice President J.D. Vance said there's a good chance of a trade deal with the UK amid global economic jitters triggered by sweeping US tariffs. Stock markets have been reeling since Donald Trump announced 10% tariffs on nearly all imports, including from close allies like the UK and France. But signs of recovery emerged this week as the White House insists the tariffs are a long-term play to cut trade deficits. UK government sources say talks with the US are progressing well, with a potential deal expected to go beyond just tariffs. Vance told Unheard the UK is a stronger prospect than Germany, thanks to a more reciprocal relationship. In other news, the Business Secretary, Jonathan Reynolds, has said any Chinese bid for British steel would be looked at in a different way after the government was forced to seize control of Xingji. It comes as 2 emergency shipments of raw materials have arrived in the UK to stop British Steel's blast furnaces from going cold. Iron ore and coking coal from the US are being unloaded in Birmingham and rushed to the Scunthorpe plant, enough to keep it running for weeks. Ministers say the company had planned to shut the furnaces and sell off vital stock. Steelworkers have called the delivery a huge relief and a turning point for the site's future. But the Industry Minister, Sarah Jones, said this morning that the government was not ruling out another Chinese owner for British Steel. Now, today is a new record for the number of illegal migrant crossings in a single day this year, smashing a record that was only a few days old. GBNews figures show around 700 migrants arrived in UK waters today, surpassing the previous one-day record of 656 migrant arrivals. The latest crossings take the number of small boat migrants who've made the journey this year to nearly 9,000. And a civil case brought by 4 women against Andrew Tate is believed to be the first of its kind, according to the barrister for his accusers. The controversial influencer is being accused of rape, assault and coercive control between 2013 and 2015. In a written submission, Anne Studd KC said she believed this was the first case of its kind in which it is argued that coercive control amounted to intentional infliction of harm. Tate denies the claims, saying they are a pack of lies and gross fabrications. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Patrick.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good evening. Today, we had a record day in the Channel. 700 illegal immigrants came across today alone, beating the previous record, set on Saturday, of 656. So that means that about 5 new migrant hotels have arrived in the last few days. A study from the Netherlands shows that each illegal migrant can cost up to £400,000 to the taxpayer in their lifetime. So that means that today alone could cost the taxpayer about 280 million quid. Anyone with a brain realises that there's no deterrent and it's going to knacker Britain. But step forward. The Mental Health Foundation. They have released reports saying that so-called asylum seekers should be able to work in Britain if they've been here for 6 months and the Home Office hasn't processed their claim. Well, just before we get stuck into the lunacy of this, let's have a little look at the key players in the Mental Health Foundation. So the CEO is Mark Rowland, ex-chair of a group called Partners Relief, which is a charity dedicated to helping children in conflict zones and oppression. And his Twitter feed has been pumping out stuff about how refugees were mentally affected by the summer disorder. Then there's the COO, Adrian Lance. He previously worked for the EU, that famous open borders disaster zone, and Save the Children. So he's also a treasurer of a group called Global Justice Now. This is all according to their profiles online, by the way. That group is currently campaigning to say no to a trade deal with President Trump, and they want greater opportunities for people in the global south. So this charity is calling for so-called asylum seekers to be able to work in any job if the Home Office has not processed their claims in 6 months. Well, what Britain needs is a deterrent, not another massive incentive. Any asylum seeker will be able to string out their stay in Britain for at least 6 months. They can repeatedly appeal, they can pretend to be gay, they can pretend to convert to Christianity, like acid attacker Abdul Azidi, who miraculously had a Muslim funeral. They can pretend to join a foreign terror group, like the Nigerian lady who had her claim rejected 7 times. Successful on the 8th, though. Hey, if at first you don't succeed. Well, we all know the score, don't we? We all know the score. I suppose the only benefit to allowing them to work after 6 months is that we could find out exactly how few of them are actually those doctors and engineers that we hear so much about. But unfortunately, there'd probably be a significant death toll associated with that particular experiment. Channel crossings are currently up about 46% year on year. That's because illegal immigrants know that our current Home Secretary is this lady, #refugees welcome, lovely stuff. They know that our Prime Minister is basically an over-promoted human rights lawyer. They know that in Britain, right now, they get free housing, free food, free phones, free healthcare, free education, free driving lessons in parts of Oxfordshire. Everyone thinks we're a soft touch, like this Albanian lad in a Channel 4 show.
England has people that are caring. That's why England will give you a chance.
Absolutely. By the way, that was in a programme on Channel 4 called 24 Hours Police Custody, where a load of Albanian drug dealers had broken out of an immigration detention centre. But yeah, we'll give you a chance, mate. We'll give you a chance. If Labour decides to act on this idea and allow so-called asylum seekers to work in Britain after 6 months, they'll all start having families here, they'll get roots here, and then they'll never leave. And I think it will be the end of Britain as we know it. Let's get thoughts of my panel. We, of course, do have GB News superstar Alex Armstrong. We've also got broadcaster and columnist Esther Krakow and journalist Jonathan Liss. Alex, I'll start with you. So, this is a suggestion by the Mental Health Foundation. The concern is that Keir Starmer accepts it, obviously, working after just 6 months.
Oh, well, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they're going to want to get the unemployment rate down somehow, aren't they? That's another way to manufacture the figures. But frankly, this will be the final nail in the coffin, won't it, as you said, Patrick? Because what it will show is that they are economic migrants after all, won't it? It will prove the point we've all been arguing. They've come here for work. But also it will expose how many of them are here for benefits, to live off of the state, essentially. Just more cost to British people. And look, British people are suffering as it is. Many young people can't get jobs. How are we going to know which of these people are safe? They're going to go into the low-paid areas like care work. I don't want my elderly grandparents being looked after by somebody who's come over here. We don't even know their criminal record. We don't know who they are. They might have ill intentions. It is very, very dangerous what they're proposing, and it's all ideological, and I can guarantee you, in my opinion, many backbench Labour MPs will be happy to vote this one through.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, there'll be certain irony attached, won't it, to someone who's just decided to ditch all of their identification documents in the Channel, but the second they've been here for 6 months, they miraculously prove a qualification for being a neurosurgeon.
Well, I'm curious how they would be able to establish an identity in 6 months for someone who's come from abroad and doesn't have it. Even doing the most basic paperwork takes a lot longer. Now you have to prove your identity. And one of the reasons why the Mental Health Association advocated for this is because apparently the anxiety of waiting for your asylum claim is so much that they might as well let them work. There are many problems with that. Chief amongst them being, of course, we don't know who they are. And too many of these people already have work. They're just working in the informal economy for like £4 an hour in a lot of these shops that prefer to hire illegal immigrants, particularly at night. And we know that a lot of our border, the regulation officers and enforcers are very understaffed. In the care industry, for example, you have one basically enforcer for about 1,000 carers, which is not enough. Not to mention the fact that carers are just not paid enough generally anyway. So this is clearly not a solution. I've always taken the stance that if you're applying for asylum, you shouldn't have to be in the UK to do that. And that's one of the many arguments that people have made. But it makes sense. Once you arrive here illegally, if your claim is for asylum, you should be offshored at an asylum processing centre in a safe place, maybe not Rwanda, but I don't know, Estonia. Weren't we considering sending prisoners there at some point? Estonia is much safer than Rwanda. They should all be sent there for their processing. And after the first try, if you don't get through and you have an appeal, that's it. You're sent back to wherever you come from. And then they would feel less incentivized to destroy their documentation. Because if you don't have documentation, you go to the Ascension Island until that kingdom comes.
You've mentioned incentives there. I mean, currently there is no deterrent. There is absolutely no deterrent coming to Britain. 700 people crossed today alone, which beat the record that has only stood for the last few days. Can I just point out, the EU average acceptance rate for refugees is 37%. Ours is 77% on second appeal. Of course it is. So, I mean, there's clearly, at least statistically, Britain is a lot friendlier to people with these sorts of claims than everywhere else.
And if they commit a crime, let's face it, they're staying here as well.
So I suppose that the point there, Jonathan, will be if they know as well that if you can cling on for 6 months, which, let's be honest, anyone can in Britain, for 6 months, then you can work, then that is another massive incentive.
I think that people should be able to work as soon as they come here. Because the complaint that I often hear from people on this channel is that asylum seekers... I don't know why they're so-called asylum seekers. They literally are asylum seekers.
They're illegal immigrants.
They can't be asylum seekers.
No, they're literally seeking asylum, Patrick.
But they can't be if they come from a safe country like France.
I'm sorry. They are seeking asylum. They might not get it, but they are seeking asylum. So-called, saying so-called, like trying to make fetch happen, is just nonsense. It's not so-called. They are literally seeking asylum. They are asylum seekers. Whether you like it or not, they are asylum seekers. And they have every legal right to seek asylum, by the way. Not all of them are going to get it, but they have every right to seek it. And it's because of what happened under the last government that deliberately extended the period for these claims to be processed in order to kind of deter people from coming. Generally, even admits it.
There wasn't an extension of the period. What happened was there were so many people applying that there was a...
And the civil service... And the civil service was incompetent.
There were not enough resources. But I'm sorry, that's not on the Tories, which, by the way, there's a lot on the Tories. That's not on the Tories. The Tories didn't expect for hundreds of thousands of people to flood our borders so that they have to somehow make room in the national budget for claims. I'm sorry, that shouldn't be a priority. We should be prioritising investment infrastructure. children and the NHS and things like that. We shouldn't be prioritising whether someone from Sudan fancies applying for asylum.
Well, can I finish making the point I was making?
But that you were wrong there. That's misleading the public. It's not because the Tories decided to cut.
Under New Labour, there was a very, very efficient processing system where there wasn't a massive backlog, and there was a massive backlog that got worse and worse under the Conservatives. It might, of course, the numbers are getting higher, but they were also they admitted they were deliberately kicking the can down the road by keeping people. And the thing is that we hear so much about how these people are a drain on resources, etc. So if you actually say, fine, work, pay your own way, pay into the system, contribute
How much
taxes.
do you think these people on average
I'm not saying that all of them will be able to do that, but give them the chance to work.
It's not about giving them a chance to work. Do you know how much money you have to make in this country to be a net contributor in terms of taxes? I.e., you take less from the state than more. £62,000. The average Brit
How can
makes
that be
about
true?
No, because it's economic.
People don't. Not everyone works in gets NHS services, for example. Young people don't get NHS services.
You can look at the average earnings of every person in this country. It's about £30,000. The average British person is a net drain. So how much more people that come here that, I'm sorry, many of whom don't speak English, they're not doctors and engineers. I'm sorry.
Some of them are.
Break it. Oh, really? So they'll be earning £62,000. That's why they have to.
But some of them are
special kind of idiot to look at the people that are coming across on the boats, boatloads of Afghan men.
I think they're astronauts.
And think that that's a boatload of economic benefits to Britain. I mean, I'm sorry, it's absolutely.
Well, I think that's incredibly myopic.
But that's the truth. It's not even being horrible. The average Brit is a net drain. So what are the chances?
Well, Patrick, you can say a lot about me, but I'm not a special kind of idiot, Patrick. And I might have a different opinion from you. It doesn't make me an idiot. And what I'm saying is that people may also want to be economic migrants and asylum seekers. Both those things can be true. People want to flee oppression, and they also want to pay into the system and contribute.
Just bring Alex into this, who's been sitting there patiently. But it's quite interesting that Labour said that they've released some footage of we're smashing the Turkish barber shops. OK, fine, whatever. You're going to have to do that on every single high street in Britain, by the way. And then they've also gone, we've deported loads of people. It turns out that most of them voluntarily self-deported. And then they go, I'll tell you what, we're going to clamp down on Deliveroo and all of those places that have been allowing illegal migrants to work, whether knowingly or unknowingly. And then now, if you take this report and they actually run with it, instead of clamping down on Deliveroo, they're just going to legalise it.
Well, the reality is they can't stop it. As you just identified, they'd have to go on every single high street, close them down. And also, when you think about it, why would they want to close those shops down? They don't want the high street to look empty, right? So there's also that consideration. I'm sure someone in government is saying, do we want to close down loads of high street shops? That might look bad. So there's all these things at play here. Labour, of course, are not going to want to have the migrants here and be an economic drain, but at the same time, it's massively within their ideological sphere.
But they'll never leave, because any lawyer will be able to. I mean, you've already got lawyers that. Well, I mean, so a group of lawyers are currently representing Hamas, by the way. But you've also got lawyers that are willing to take on clients who've been rejected 7 times. Then, in my view,
why are they still here?
Pretend to join a Nigerian terrorist organisation that is not prescribed over here, but is over there, so you can't go back home. If you're allowed to work here and you're allowed to, start a family or all of that stuff, then you're never going to leave, are you? So this is a step towards open borders, in my view. But I've got a couple of lengthy rights of replies to read here now. So the Home Office spokesperson said, while the well-being of those in the asylum system is important, we remain determined to continue cracking down on anyone working illegally in the UK. And we certainly have no intention of creating a fast-track process so that people who come to the UK outside the established work visa rules are simply allowed to ignore them. Then we went to the Mental Health Foundation, and they argue that giving asylum seekers the right to work would increase tax revenue for the government. The Foundation's CEO, Mark Rowland, said giving asylum seekers the right to work is a no-brainer. Everyone, from asylum seekers to businesses to the government to the NHS to our communities, benefits when asylum seekers are given the ability to support themselves. The current system, which is both harmful and expensive, cannot continue as it is. Well, I'm absolutely certain that those comments will have got you screaming at your television screen, but we have some breaking news to bring you. We can go live now to Washington, D.C., where US President Donald Trump is participating in a Commander-in-Chief trophy presentation to the Navy midshipmen amongst the White House announcement that 15 trade deal proposals are actively being considered. Will he reveal a thing or two about what he's got on the table for Britain? Let's find out.
Win-win, right? And that's what you did. That's what you did. Wow. That's a hell of a trophy. How much does that weigh? I don't know. Am I supposed to carry that? I don't think it can be done. I hear it's quite heavy, actually. You won 10 of 13 games, including 9 by double digits. You beat Air Force, you beat Army, and now this 170-pound trophy, that's what it is yours once again. And I have to tell you, you had some brilliant players. On offense, you were led by an incredible fullback, team co-captain, Daba Fofana. Where is Daba? Where are you? Come here, come on. Is he a hard guy to tackle? Could I tackle him running full speed? You don't suggest it, right? You want to say something? Come on.
OK, so President Trump there shaking the hand of a man that we've got no idea who he is or why that event's happening. But anyway, good to see it. Good to see it. So, when we come back, we'll have loads more stuff that I think has probably more of an impact on our lives. But time for the Great British Giveaway now, and it's our biggest prize to date.
You could be spending your summer in style, on the road in this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. Imagine the fun you could have in this luxurious home from home worth over £67,000. It sleeps 4, comes with integrated kitchen and bathroom spaces, and comfortably has space for all the family. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you £5,000 in tax-free cash to make your next getaway a great one. It's our biggest prize package ever, and it could be all yours. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Coming up, could mammoth pox end human civilization? Oh yeah, that's right. The World Health Organization has been trailing an outbreak of a deadly disease that, can I just say, apparently doesn't even exist. So there we go. I'll reveal all in just a few minutes. But first, the Prime Minister managed to celebrate Nepali, Bengalese, Tamil and Sinhala New Year over the weekend, but he didn't make any time for Palm Sunday. So is he shunning British culture? That's next.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Britain's first gangster turned bishop says that Prince William has nicked my best ideas. I'm not joking. It's true. You can hear him laughing next to me now. Pastor Mick champions a one-stop shop for supporting rough sleepers. Tell GB News viewers a bit about your incredible story, how you started out and how you ended up as a man on the cloth.
Yeah, so this was basically back from addiction, abuse as a child, mental health, and then into a life of crime and spiralled down, and had a final stay in a psychiatric unit on a crack addict, and my life kind of built up from there. I've been clean off drugs and alcohol for 14 years, and it's been a really painful journey. Well, I find that, you know, in the pain, if you look at the news now, there's so much pain for people, you know, it's like, and I've managed to find out where the joy is in the pain, and that's what I try to do. I try to show people where the joy is in the pain, because if you love, it's going to hurt. And the measure of the pain is sometimes a measure of the love that you have for other people and inside yourself. So the book kind of tells the stories of people who've had a lot of pain, but yet they've come through, just like myself.
Let me just hold this up now. The book, Walk in My Shoes. Oh, that is on sale now, and it's got a message on the back. It's got royal approval. It's impossible to visit church on the street and not be deeply moved by the work the organisation does for those in need. His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales. Of course, you've got a huge fan in Prince William. He's been to visit you.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. So coming up, could mammoth pox end human civilization? But first, is the Prime Minister shunning British culture deliberately? It's time now for our head-to-head. So, the Prime Minister has been accused of shunning British values after a Downing Street social media account failed to celebrate Palm Sunday over the weekend. Millions of Christians up and down the UK celebrated the start of the Holy Week on Sunday, which marks Christ's entry into Jerusalem just before his crucifixion. Not that you'd know from the Downing Street X account, which instead celebrated Nepali New Year and wishes followers a joyous Tamil and Sinhala New Year as well. Oh, and of course, they didn't forget to celebrate Bengali New Year either. So there was also a message for the Sikhs, wishing them world peace, happiness and prosperity this Vaisakhi. And there wasn't a single message, though, about Christians celebrating Palm Sunday. So tonight I'm asking, basically, are we being trolled by the Prime Minister? I mean, is he just deliberately shunning British culture? Going head-to-head on this now are writer and broadcaster Emma Trimble and broadcaster Fahima Mohammed. Thank you very much. Tremendous to have you both on the show. Emma, I'll start with you. Do you think he's deliberately shunning Christianity here in British culture?
Oh, well, I think a lot of people have pointed out, maybe even you, Patrick, that this seems to be a bit like he's trolling us. British culture is Christian culture. It has been for 1,700 years. And so, you know, to point out that he hasn't said anything about Palm Sunday isn't necessarily to say he shouldn't be tweeting out if he wants to, you know, wishing happy holidays to various other religions. But it's a very, very glaring absence, not only from the Prime Minister, but maybe even more glaringly so from the King, who didn't mention Passover. So it's not the case that he's wishing happy holidays to every single minority group. But as the head of the Church of England, the King didn't even mention Palm Sunday. And this is the most important week in the Christian calendar. So it's a very glaring and notable absence.
Yeah, Fahima, your views on this. I mean, to me, if you are going to even mention, you know, Nepali New Year, which, you know, happy New Year to the, roughly speaking, 70,000 Nepalese people that we do have in Britain. But if you're then going to not mention Palm Sunday, that does seem like a deliberate oversight, does it not?
Not really, because people don't understand how the actual politicians work. At the end of the day, we are a multicultural society, and politicians will actually endorse and acknowledge and validate their diplomats, their ambassadors, all of the dignitaries that's across the world that are living here. And normally the host country would do that without having to recognise much of its own country Because at the end of the day, you don't need a press release to be powerful in your faith, especially if you are actually practicing it. So at the end of the day, we're not Saudi Arabia or Iran to actually have it infringed in framework, in legal sort of framework where everyone has to be that way. We need to get with the times. We are a multicultural society. And just because Keir Starmer did not put a tweet out to validate your faith, then if that's the problem, then that actually doesn't mean that he's the problem.
We are a multicultural society, but Emma, one of those cultures is Christianity, and we don't appear to be getting any representation there, Emma.
Well, I mean, that's rubbish. There were statistics in the last week showing that Christianity is increasing amongst Gen Z. So younger people are turning towards Christianity. So don't write off Christianity just yet. The reality is that this is a Christian country. In law, we have an established church. Our constitution is fundamentally Christian. And the culture of this country, in a very deep and profound way, is Christian. Now, a lot of people pointed out, you don't wish people a happy Lent, because that was also something that was ignored by the establishment, by the king, by the prime minister, etc. But it's the same as saying, well, you don't wish people happy Ramadan, or you don't wish people a happy Yom Kippur, because that isn't necessarily the appropriate way to do it. But you could say, have a blessed Palm Sunday, for example. So, I just don't buy this trash argument that this is political. And even if it was political, that's just to say that the Prime Minister doesn't regard Christians, that are still the majority religion in this country, as being a politically significant group, enough to at least acknowledge. So when people talk about multiculturalism in general, they all talk about recognition, about people needing to be seen. But of course, that's not something that counts when you're talking about the majority Christian population.
OK, Fahima, it appears to me that Keir Starmer, in this particular version of the Labour Party anyway, has decided that pensioners don't vote for him, so they've slammed them. Decides that farmers don't vote for him, so they've slammed them. That private school parents don't vote for him, so they've slammed them. This might be an indication that he doesn't really expect Christians to vote for him either, so he's not bothered about it, just pandering to, I think, minorities in British society. Would you agree?
No, not really, because as Emma just mentioned, majority of people in this country are Christian. They are actually English-born, and they were the ones that predominantly voted for Keir Starmer in the first place. So you cannot even put that across, because that actually sort of doesn't make sense, to be honest. And it's not a rubbish argument. If anything, at the end of the day, we are here to recognise all faiths, all religions, and your faith is not weak. It's people that don't practice it that is actually the problem. If other people are practicing it and they are stronger in their faith and they stand up more and they are brighter in what they do, that's not the problem of people that actually do it. And if you actually also rely on Keir Starmer's speech or a tweet to actually acknowledge your faith, then that is also, if it hinges on that, then there's so much lack of power in the faith itself. It doesn't need validation or a press release. It just needs people to follow. And I actually seen quite a few people celebrating Palm Sunday and Easter, but that wasn't in the UK, unfortunately. That was places like the Middle East, that was in Palestine, the Orthodox Christians, as well as the Syrians and Lebanese and the Iraqis. I wish they actually did that here in the UK, but you don't see that, nor do the children go to Sunday schools or anywhere like that anymore. So actually, regardless of what you're saying, the statistics are very low for the country that actually claims to be Christian.
OK, well, that's interesting. Emma, we're going to have to be quite snappy with this, but would you like to come back to any of that?
Well, I think if you're not seeing it here, it's because you're not looking. I think people are ignorant of the traditions of this country, probably including many of the political elite who don't know about Holy Week, who don't know about Palm Sunday, because people have abandoned their own traditions and their own religion. And I think the fact that people are celebrating it all around the world, millions of people, but also up and down this country as well, that is the culture of this country. And if you're going to be tweeting out about other religions, then you should do it for all, especially the majority of this country.
All right, well, both of you, thank you very much. Exactly the kind of head-to-head that we were after. Always delivers, so great stuff. That is writer and broadcaster Emma Trimble and the broadcaster Fahima Mohammed. Thank you again. Coming up... Oh, I mean, I'm trying not to be dramatic here, but the smell is absolutely overpowering, I'm afraid. Flies everywhere. So, could the Birmingham bin strike go national? It appears that the union's got plans to. I will also be showing you exclusive, never-before-heard audio recordings of Britain's most notorious jihadi, Anjem Chowdhury, speaking about the very prison that he was in amid allegations that he influenced Hashim Abidi before his attack on prison guards. Big exclusive that you won't want to miss it. But first, Could mammoth pox really end human civilization? The World Health Organization's piped up again. You don't want to miss that.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're hoping to get away for the rest of the Easter holidays, I'm afraid it's rather unsettled across the central Mediterranean. Heavy showers, thunderstorms and also some strong winds. Largely dry across Madeira and the rest of the Canary Islands, though, particularly after all the heavy rain recently. But as we shift our way eastwards, heavy showers affecting much of the central Mediterranean. These could have hail and also some thunder and some strong winds associated with them too. Largely dry across Greece, and it's turning largely dry for all as we head into Saturday, with temperatures widely in the mid to high teens to low 20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Victims of an absolutely horrific and heartbreaking crime. Exactly 1 month ago, their home was broken into by machete-wielding thugs. Well, RAF officer Jason Shutt and his partner Sashi had £20,000 of cash and valuables taken from their property in Ruislip, West London, while Sashi was being held at Machete Point. Now, the armed gang also stole their beloved pug dog, Ozzy, you can see now on your screens. And the family said they aren't focused on getting the money, the jewellery or the watches back. They just want Ozzy back.
I followed myself through into the dining room area when I heard footsteps coming down the stairs. And at this point, they told me not to move. They had a machete around my neck, turned me and put me up against the bottom banisters. And while this was carrying on, the machete was still around my neck.
He's like a live teddy bear. He was just so cuddly and he was so kind. He was like a human, but obviously as a dog. He was just amazing and, yeah.
We can see that dog on the screens there now, and the dog is now missing, and you obviously dearly, dearly would love to get Ozzy back. What can people do to help? Is there any distinctive marks, anything that may help the public out there to assist you in this noble search?
Yeah, well, he's got a scar on his back leg. Obviously, he'll reply to his name, Ozzy.
You can see on screen there, if you're watching at home, there is that distinctive mark. It looks like the back rear leg.
Yeah,
so the back right flank leg there, got that scar, beautiful pug. And I believe the local community have chipped in, they're trying their best to help you as well.
All over social media. They've been great.
GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays, I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Yes, welcome back, everybody. OK, so very shortly, we are going to be playing you exclusive, never-before-heard audio recordings of Britain's most notorious jihadi, Anjem Choudhury, on the day that it's been revealed he's been accused of influencing Hashim Abedi, the man who helped build the Manchester Arena bomb, before he attacked prison officers, allegedly, behind bars. But first, have we learnt nothing from Jurassic Park. A plan to revive the mammoth is on track. So scientists last month created a new species called the woolly mouse, which they are using as part of the process to revive the woolly mammoth. These woolly mice have been genetically edited to have similar genes to the mammoth. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization have turned to the extinct mammoth to simulate another global pandemic. So a fictional outbreak called mammoth pox, triggered by scientists digging up a frozen mammoth. The WHO then used it to test how 15 countries would respond to the next health emergency. Some went into strict lockdown and some kept borders open. But could this be a genuine threat to human civilization? In 2023, NASA researchers unfroze a 48,500-year-old zombie virus found alongside a frozen mammoth and wolf remains that will be lethal to humans. Why? Anyway, I'm joined now by the writer and head of lifestyle economics at the Institute of Economic Affairs, Chris Snowden. Chris, thank you very much. So, the World Health Organization here creating a fictional virus that they're going to model to tell us all that it will be life-ending, despite the fact that they couldn't model properly an actual virus that we had.
Yeah, it's a funny story, this, isn't it, Patrick? I was interested to learn that there actually are lots of viruses buried under the permafrost in Siberia. I mean, this is not a completely made-up threat. This virus that they were doing their wargaming on the other day is completely made up. They said this is a cross between Mpox and smallpox, so something that's really not very deadly and something that's extremely deadly. And you'd be pleased to hear that everybody pulled through. They managed to cooperate in whatever way the WHO thinks that countries should cooperate. So look, I mean, I'm not going to have a go at the WHO for doing some kind of preparation for a pandemic for once. I think that's a nice new departure for them. It might keep them away from the stuff that they really want to do, which is bang on about inequality and fizzy drinks and Palestine and so on. How useful is it? I don't think I'm really qualified to say, but I suspect not terribly.
I also just wonder whether or not this is yet more scaremongering and fear-mongering for people. You know, you kind of invent a virus here, you do a study on it. I mean, during the course of this study, if you've invented the virus, then it's entirely up to you how deadly this thing is. They've obviously gone for very deadly, and then they've decided to roll it out across 15 countries who've behaved in entirely random ways because the World Health Organization has made it up. Should we just leave this thing? I mean, should it just be disbanded, the WHO?
Yes, I'm afraid to say it should. I think it's had more than enough chances over the years. I think actually Donald Trump's got the right idea, defund it, get out of it, and form something better. We do need a World Health Organization. We just don't need the World Health Organization. You got Tedros there, a terrible man. Incredible he hasn't resigned actually since COVID. They didn't just drop the ball on COVID. They've dropped the ball on pretty much every virus that's emerged in the course of the last 2 or 3 decades, Zika and Ebola, and they've really got it wrong time and time again. I don't think this better preparation is going to help. I think actually we should be looking more at prevention than preparation. So, you know, why are we messing around with these viruses? You know, let's not meddle around too much. If there's lots of woolly mammoth viruses buried in the snow, let's try and keep them there. Let's certainly not send them off to China to have gain-of-function research done on them.
Well, yeah, because that worked out really well last time, but at least at this time it wouldn't be able to say that they've got a wet market that only serves mammoth. So we would have quite a good idea about whether or not they had really been meddling. But look, if we disbanded the World Health Organization at the moment, I mean, are British taxpayers going to feel the difference for that? I mean, is it costing us huge amounts of money to be part of this thing or not?
Yeah, we are, now that America's left, we are the biggest single funder as a nation state. There are some billionaires like Mike Bloomberg and Bill Gates put a lot of money in, but we are, I think, in absolute terms, let alone in kind of per capita terms, the biggest funder. Every time somebody pulls money away, our government credulously hands over a whole bunch more. It's absolutely scandalous. And we're not even getting any soft power for this. I don't think Britain actually seems to have any soft power anymore, apart from possibly Paddington Bear. But the idea is that you can have a certain amount of influence over these corrupt organisations, maybe get them to clean up their act a little bit. But that doesn't happen. You know, Donald Trump pulls the money, Keir Starmer gives them twice as much to make up for it, and they carry on their merry way having, you know, lovely 5-star holidays.
Yeah, I mean, it's an organisation that, at its core, is led by a random bloke from Ethiopia. Doesn't really seem to be any point to him or the thing itself.
To boot.
What's that?
And a communist to boot. I mean, he came from a Maoist political party.
Oh, lovely. But has he watched Adolescence, though, Chris? Because if he has, then he's obviously in. But, Chris, thank you very much. Tremendous to have you on. Always strong views there. Christopher Snowdon, who is the head of lifestyle economics at the Institute of Economic Affairs. I should probably at this point interject and say that Tedros, whatever he's called, is not here to defend himself. But anyway, there we go. Coming up at 10 p.m.
Can collectively completely ignore the prison infrastructure and the officers.
That is the voice there of Britain's most notorious jihadi, Anjem Choudhury. So just days after one of the men responsible for the Manchester Arena bomb launched a vicious attack on prison officers, tonight I will expose in never-before-heard audio recordings how Islamists have been thriving in British prisons for years. That's at 10. But first... Oh, I mean, I'm trying not to be dramatic here, but the smell is absolutely overpowering, I'm afraid. Flies everywhere. Is the Birmingham bin strike coming to your town next? Stay tuned.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Low pressure really dominating, an unsettled outlook. Outbreaks of heavy rain over the next few days, some strong winds at times too. And those strong winds developing as we go through this evening and overnight as this area of low pressure moves in from the south, bringing some heavy rain to western parts in particular as well. Parts of Wales, the West Country, have a yellow warning from the Met Office out through the night into Wednesday morning. The heavy rain then transferring into parts of Northern Ireland during the early hours. Elsewhere, generally quite cloudy with outbreaks of rain. Temperatures overnight generally holding up around 6 or 7 degrees due to the cloud. The winds picking up too, gales developing through the Irish Sea along southern coasts, and these strong winds spreading inland as we go through the day. Let's look at the details for Wednesday morning, and actually across northern Scotland it's a bright start for some of us, some sunny spells here, but the rest of Scotland cloudy, some patchy rain, heavy rain across Northern Ireland. There could be some localised flooding issues first thing here. The rest of England generally cloudy, and that heavy rain extending into western parts of England and Wales as well. Just some brighter skies starting to come into southern counties first thing Wednesday morning, and this sunshine slowly spreads a little further north through the day as the area of low pressure just tends to very slowly push its way northwards. So some parts of Wales, northern England, Northern Ireland, southern Scotland will have a wet day, some strong winds too, and it will feel quite cold. Temperatures struggling to get into the double figures here. Breezy across the rest of England and Wales, but sunny spells developing and temperatures around 17 Celsius. For Thursday, the remnants of that low pressure start pulling away and it becomes a brighter day for most with sunny spells, scattered showers. Some of the showers can be heavy at times, but some places will avoid these and stay dry all day, and temperatures around the mid-teens. It stays unsettled as we head towards the Easter weekend. Further rain at times, temperatures generally around average.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Welcome back. Well, very shortly, you are going to hear exclusive audio recordings from Britain's most notorious jihadi, Anjem Choudhury. He's behind bars at the moment. He is reportedly, anyway, been influencing Hashem Abidi, who was... well, allegedly, anyway, attacked several prison guards over the weekend. I'm going to be posing the question, should jihadis just be kept in permanent solitary confinement for the rest of their natural lives? But first, not content with making Birmingham residents miserable, Unite, Britain's largest trade union, are considering spreading Birmingham-style bin strikes across the country. I suppose that's levelling up, isn't it? Rubbish piling up, massive rat infestations, while they could be heading to cities like Peterborough and Sheffield, where refuse workers are also currently in disputes with councils over pay. Yesterday, Unite members overwhelmingly rejected Birmingham City Council's second offer, extending the walkout into its 6th week. And now Unite's General Secretary Sharon Graham has confirmed that she's willing to approve industrial action in other areas. I'm joined now by former Labour MP in Birmingham, Callie Mahmood. Callie, great to see you. Thank you very much for coming on. Right. So, I mean, this is going to be a summer of discontent, isn't it? Bin strikes right across the country under a Labour government.
Well, I don't think so. 2 reasons. One, first of all, Unite have left at the moment a limited amount of financial resource, money, which they can pay to the striking bin workers. But secondly, not all local authorities now have in-house bin people clearing up. So the binmen don't exist for all local authorities. They have contractors coming in and doing that job. So I think it's just a bit of again, rhetoric to make the situation, what's happening, misery that's happening for people of Birmingham. And what we need to do is to look at how we can get this sorted out. And one of the big problems
you're going to have to pay them more, aren't you? I mean, this is the upshot of it. Due to an absolutely insane equality law, which, with respect, Callie, people on the left pushed for in a big way, you've got a situation where a judge has decided that people doing 2 completely different jobs, one mostly female-dominated job, which is cleaning offices, versus a mostly male-dominated job, which is cleaning rubbish off the streets, they should be paid the same. And the solution to that, in order to not bankrupt the already bankrupt council, was to reduce the pay of bin men instead of increasing it. So, I mean, this can't end without either repealing the Equalities Act or just paying the bin men more, can it?
Well, no, I think what we can do is look at a better way of having negotiations and dealing with how that association can be enacted. You're quite right. Bin, who are men, generally bin men, who are doing this job, and other staff who work in offices and other environments, who tend to be cross-gender, predominantly women, as you've said. There is no direct correlation to the job. There's a huge issue of physical labour. The machinery that's operating, you see the trucks on the video now, they can take somebody's limb off. They can run somebody over, and there's a huge issue in the wet, in the cold, slippery roads.
It's a grim job.
Also those sort of issues. So the job doesn't compete, and that's where...
No, it doesn't. The main problem for Labour, of course, which is that the Labour Party is basically sponsored by Unite. I mean, Unite gave more than £500,000 to Labour MPs at the last election. That's according to the Financial Times. You've got MPs, in fact, in the case of Tahir Ali, who's one of the local MPs here, who actually used to have a role, I believe, with Unite. Angela Rayner, again, essentially sponsored by
Tahir
Unite.
Ali, I think, was with CWU.
OK, all right. Well, I'm willing to be corrected on that one if that indeed is true. But my understanding was that he was in some way linked with Unite. But I'll double check on that. But the point is that plenty of Labour MPs are involved with Unite, which means that they've got a massive problem now, haven't they?
Well, I think what's happening at the moment is to do with the current Unite elections. And this is what all this is going on about, is trying to ensure that the General Secretary gets in. This is about people's livelihood. This is about those bin workers' livelihoods. If they carry on in this manner, there will be people that will have to be made redundant and moved on. So Unite as a trade union, it's about negotiating and achieving a settlement. It's not about going on all out strikes and then putting people whose jobs are on the line into a far worse position. So we need to do that. Big problem in Birmingham, Patrick, also people need to realise, is that we've still got the commissioners in here. The first meetings that Unite and the councillors had, they almost got to an agreement. The commissioners then stepped in and said, you can't do this. And that's part of the problem as well. This hidden...
But this is going to be rolled out across the country. I will just say as well, Tahir Ali is a member of Unite, and that's according to his own website there. So he can't speak out against Unite. Obviously, he's got all the time in the world for the creation of a potential airport in Mirpur, Pakistan. But, I mean, the fact that his own residents are living in filth. But, I mean, this could be devastating for the Labour government. If they roll this out right across the country, then Labour, well, I mean, it's awful for them, isn't it? I mean, this is it. They're in the pockets of the unions. They can't solve anything. I mean, it'd be a biohazard.
Well, it would be a hazard, but I don't think the Labour Party is totally in the pocket of Unite. There are lots of other trade unions who are supporting Labour Party, Unison, USDO, and a number of the unions now are coming behind the Labour Party to support them. So this wouldn't be across the whole piece, it'll be Unite workers. But as I said, majority of the councils have private contracts now. And so therefore, it wouldn't be effective, as people are saying, in terms of getting all those people out. And to get people out, you've got to have a reasonable grievance. If those authorities don't have a reasonable grievance, the Unite Union can't pull those people out. So there has to be an understanding of how these laws work and how we need to deal with this. But it's about people and their lives. And posturing like this on a national level, Patrick, doesn't help.
Well, you know, Labour, party of the workers, party of the working class. The fact is that Unite is one of the largest trade unions in the UK, and Labour's lost them, haven't they?
Well, what the Labour Party's tried to do is, the accusation that came out earlier, is that in the pockets. So by demonstrating that they're not in the pockets, the Labour Party can't win either way. What the Labour Party's trying to do is to keep a steady course as government and trying to deal with this. And that's important that we deal with this. But in particular, Birmingham's crisis, we've got to look at the commissioners and what we deal with them. I think it should be taken out and we just let the council do its job.
Well, Khalid, thank you very much. Always a pleasure. You take care. Wish you all the very best. Khalid Mahmood there, former Labour MP in the Birmingham area, coming up in just a few minutes' time.
Views that we hold, and I can speak for all of them, are based on very, very clear, defined scripture. And no amount of talking to by a so-called theologian or police officers or judges is going to change those views.
Look, get ready for this. It is an absolutely massive exclusive. Never before heard audio recordings of Britain's most notorious jihadi, Anjem Choudhury. Just days after one of the men responsible for the Manchester Arena bombing is alleged to have launched a vicious attack on prison officers, well, it was alleged that Anjem Choudhury might have inspired him because he's in the same prison. He's since been moved out of that prison. We have unearthed some audio recordings of Anjem Choudhury talking about what life is like in that prison and, frankly, saying how de-radicalisation is a total dangerous fantasy. You are going to want to listen to this. I think it might open a few people's eyes. Stay tuned.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Low pressure really dominating, an unsettled outlook. Outbreaks of heavy rain over the next few days, some strong winds at times too. And those strong winds developing as we go through this evening and overnight as this area of low pressure moves in from the south, bringing some heavy rain to western parts in particular as well. Parts of Wales, the West Country, have a yellow warning from the Met Office out through the night into Wednesday morning. The heavy rain then transferring into parts of Northern Ireland during the early hours. Elsewhere, generally quite cloudy with outbreaks of rain. Temperatures overnight generally holding up around 6 or 7 degrees due to the cloud. The winds picking up too, gales developing through the Irish Sea along southern coasts, and these strong winds spreading inland as we go through the day. Let's look at the details for Wednesday morning, and actually across northern Scotland it's a bright start for some of us, some sunny spells here, but the rest of Scotland cloudy, some patchy rain, heavy rain across Northern Ireland. There could be some localised flooding issues first thing here. The rest of England generally cloudy, and that heavy rain extending into western parts of England and Wales as well. Just some brighter skies starting to come into southern counties first thing Wednesday morning, and this sunshine slowly spreads a little further north through the day as the area of low pressure just tends to very slowly push its way northward. So some parts of Wales, northern England, Northern Ireland, southern Scotland will have a wet day, some strong winds too, and it will feel quite cold. Temperatures struggling to get into the double figures here. Breezy across the rest of England and Wales, but sunny spells developing and temperatures around 17 Celsius. For Thursday, the remnants of that low pressure start pulling away and it becomes a brighter day for most with sunny spells, scattered showers. Some of the showers can be heavy at times, but some places will avoid these and stay dry all day, and temperatures around the mid-teens. It stays unsettled as we head towards the Easter weekend. Further rain at times, temperatures generally around average.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with sky roof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that wherever this motorhome takes you, it takes you there in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is the nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys, and tonight, bombshell never before heard exclusive recordings of Britain's most notorious jihadi.
Views that we hold, and I can speak for all of them, are based on very, very clear, defined scripture. And no amount of talking to by so-called theologian or police officers or judges is going to change those views.
Convicted ISIS fanatic Anjem Chowdhury is today accused of inspiring Hashim Abidi to allegedly attack prison officers behind bars. I've got clips of him talking about life in that very prison.
Can collectively completely ignore the prison infrastructure and the officers there.
So tonight I'm asking, should Islamists be kept in solitary confinement for life? And
my message would be, I really feel like people need to start taking the victims more seriously.
Shadow Justice Minister Robert Jenrick is going to be live in this studio demanding that Labour releases censored court documents relating to grooming gang monsters. What are they trying to hide? And it was a bad day for some Americans.
Out here with our audience, so.
Find out what goes on there. On my panel tonight is GB News presenter Alex Armstrong. We've also got broadcaster and columnist Esther Kraku and journalist Jonathan Liss. Oh, and what do you think happens when a person tries to feed a dog on a train?
Mana, mana. Mana, mana. Mana, mana.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. You're about to hear straight from the horse's mouth how notorious jihadis are mocking the British justice system. Next.
Good evening. It's just gone 10 o'clock. These are your headlines. The White House Press Secretary, Caroline Leavitt, has said the US currently have 15 trade deals that are being actively considered and will be announced very soon. Earlier, US Vice President J.D. Vance said there's a good chance of a trade deal with the UK amid global economic jitters triggered by sweeping US tariffs. UK government sources say talks with the US are progressing well, with a potential deal expected to go beyond just tariffs, though there are concerns over Sir Keir Starmer closing in on a new partnership with the EU that could put a trade deal with the White House at risk. Vance told Unheard the UK is a stronger prospect than Germany thanks to a more reciprocal relationship. Today is a new record for the number of illegal migrant crossings in a single day this year, smashing a record that was only a few days old. GB News figures show around 700 migrants arrived in UK waters today, surpassing the previous one-day record of 656 migrant arrivals. The latest crossings take the number of small boat migrants who've made the journey this year so far to nearly 9,000. In other news, the Birmingham bin strikes is set to continue after workers overwhelmingly rejected the council's latest pay offer. Unite says the deal fails to address potential pay cuts of up to £8,000 and could impact hundreds of workers. Public health fears are growing, with dead animals found in parks and some residents reporting rat infestations. The council says its offer was fair and its door remains open. Now, a woman has been spared jail after forging a paternity test result and lying to her ex-partner about him being the father of her child. Liverpool Crown Court heard how 26-year-old Beth Fernley told 27-year-old Ryan Hampson in April of 2019 she was pregnant and was unsure who the baby's father was. She then sent him screenshots claiming to be from company Easy DNA, showing there was a 99.9% probability he was the father. The documents were later confirmed to have been forged. Fernley pleaded guilty to fraud by false representation and was handed a 13-month sentence, suspended for 18 months. And two thieves have been caught on CCTV stealing £100 worth of Easter eggs after being trapped inside a Tesco supermarket. The footage showed 28-year-old Jordan King and an accomplice taking Easter eggs off the shelves before trying to run out of the store with their arms full of chocolate. They appear trapped by the locked security door, but managed to barge their way out. King pleaded guilty to 3 counts of shop theft and was jailed for 8 weeks and ordered to pay back the cost of the stolen items. Nottinghamshire police are still hunting for King's accomplice. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Patrick.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good evening. I'm about to play you exclusive, never-before-heard recordings of notorious jihadi Anjem Choudhury that prove that Islamist prisoners have been laughing at the British justice system for years. For me, this is cast-iron proof that convicted jihadis should spend the rest of their natural lives in total isolation, locked in solitary confinement. I'm playing you these clips now because today it was revealed that Choudhury is suspected of inspiring Manchester Arena bomb maker Hashim Abidi to allegedly attack prison guards. That's according to reports. Choudhury is arguably Britain's most infamous jihadi. He has an Islamist rap sheet as long as a giraffe's neck. He was named as a recruiter for jihadist military training grounds in Britain. He reportedly called the 9/11 terrorists magnificent martyrs. He was a member of Al-Mujahideen, co-founded by Islamist monster Omar Bakri Mohammed. He had links to Lee Rigby's killers. He had links to a Belgian extremist group called Sharia for Belgium. He organised meetings for now-banned group Islam for UK and wanted to organise a vile demonstration in Wootton Bassett, the Wiltshire town, where the bodies of dead British soldiers were returned to from the Middle East. Choudhury then pledged allegiance to ISIS and was sentenced to 5.5 years behind bars before eventually being jailed for life with a minimum term of 28 years after being found guilty of directing the Al-Mujahideen terrorist cell. He then found himself in HMP Frankland, which houses Britain's most dangerous and extremist inmates. So who else was there? Well, Hashim Abidi, the bloke who helped build the bomb that detonated in Manchester Arena. Well, today it's reported that security services fear that Choudhury helped inspire Abidi to allegedly douse a female officer with scalding hot butter and then stab a couple of other officers as well. Choudhury was reportedly in the prison's gym facility at the time of this alleged attack and has now apparently been removed from that prison. Well, tonight, exclusively on GB News, I can bring you these never-before-heard recordings of Anjem Choudhury from 2021, speaking about his previous time in HMP Frankland, making a mockery of these so-called de-radicalisation programmes and laughing at Soft Touch Britain. Here, Chowdhury talks about how the prison officers have no understanding of radical Islam.
The government obviously introduced these separation centres to supposedly de-radicalise individuals, to stop them being influential within the prison system. But I think one of the glaring fallacies that occurs to anyone who's in there is that there's no understanding, or very little understanding, amongst the prison officers about anything in relation to Islam, let alone topics like jihad, khilafah, sharia, you know, the kind of things that you would expect someone to have some kind of awareness about.
So in a second recording from 2022 in which Chowdhury responds to a story about a plan to send dangerous terrorists straight to high-risk wings, Chowdhury says that the Islamist inmates, they just shun the prison officers.
If anything, practicing Muslims who go to prison want to spend their prison time with fellow Muslims, and they don't want to be looking over their shoulder. And this is the ideal if you like, scenario for them, to be put with other Muslims, like-minded, where they can collectively completely ignore the prison infrastructure and the officers there, whether it be offender managers or psychiatrists or or one-of-the-mill kind of like prison officers. They don't need to have any dealing with them at all.
Yeah, so as we're going to go on to discuss, you can't really put them in general population because they try to spread their jihadi ideology. But then if you put them in a group environment, like at HMP Franklin, well, then they quite enjoy it because they're just all with like-minded individuals, aren't they? Again, reinforcing why solitary confinement is probably the only way. But Chowdhury describes his relief to be sent to a separation unit when he was originally jailed in Belmarsh.
And for me, I was in the HSU in Belmarsh, where that Julian Assange was. When I went to the separation centre, I mean, it was like, for me, it was a relief because I'm now only with Muslims. We love each other, we do everything together. We completely ignored anyone who was a prison staff member.
But this is really the most damning clip because one of the big reasons why people are put in prison, the Islamists, is to supposedly de-radicalise them, which I think, and I suspect you think, is a complete myth. But here, Anjem Chowdhury speaks about how idiotic it is to assume that you can actually de-radicalise a jihadi.
The views that we hold, and I can speak for all of them, are based on very, very clear, defined scripture. And no amount of talking to by a so-called theologian or police officers or judges is going to change those views, and therefore it becomes about a clash of civilizations. Like we always say, it's a clash between Islamic culture and Western culture, or secularism. And the thing is that clash will continue.
Yeah, so there you go. They don't want to be de-radicalised. These people cannot and will not be de-radicalised, and the problem is huge. Yesterday, it was revealed that Islamist prison gangs are running UK jails, using intimidation and violence to control the facilities and other inmates. I think it's time for Britain to consider building several huge facilities full of solitary confinement cells that are then used to house the ever-increasing jihadi lunatics that we have both inside and outside of our prison system. Let's get the thoughts of our panel. We, of course, have GB News star Alex Armstrong, journalist and broadcaster and columnist Esther Krakow, and journalist Jonathan Liss. Right, Alex, look, so there you go, straight from the horse's mouth, Anjem Chowdhury there, Britain's most notorious jihadi, who is, well, at least according to reports anyway, believed to have helped influence Hashim Abedi to carry out his vile attack over the weekend, making a total mockery of the way that we treat jihadis behind bars.
Yeah, I'm frankly not surprised, Patrick, because, in my opinion, there is no way to de-radicalise an extreme Islamist. They are religious to their core, and the fact that these separation centres exist shows we don't understand the problem. You can't chuck in someone like Anjem Chowdhury with a bunch of maybe even slightly more moderate Muslims and expect them not to come out even more radicalised. At this point in time, we are sitting on a powder keg. Those people will be released back onto the streets of Britain and will cause... We could be sitting on multiple terrorist attacks in the waiting. If they're doing this inside the most secure prisons in our country, imagine what they'll be able to do when they're let loose free on the streets of Britain. I completely agree with you. There needs to be max security prisons, Well, in my opinion, I'd put them in an island off of Britain, a small little island we've got somewhere that's uninhabited.
Jihadi island?
Yeah. We'll put them all there in a max prison like the president of El Salvador. No, the president of El Salvador is doing a great job. He's rounding them all the criminals up. He's putting these max security prisons saying, you're not getting out. You're too dangerous.
I mean, look, he's just exposed there, I think, what we already knew, which is, but A, they don't really want to be de-radicalised. B, how on earth are you going to de-radicalise someone whose only objective is to serve, in their view, a higher power anyway, that they see there? They have got, in their view, the purest form of scripture. And then you've also got this idea that grouping them all together with a load of prison officers that have got no interest in trying to understand, or no training in understanding jihad whatsoever, what's going to happen? It's a disaster. Surely solitary confinement is the only solution, Esther.
Well, yes. But this is one of many problems that our prisons face. Prisons are like criminal university. You have people in there that have basically committed crimes against society, and that's why they're together. They're exchanging ways of like, oh, I didn't get caught for 10 years. How did you do it? Blah, 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 blah. So there's a question about whether you should have general mixing in prison anyway. But what is the point of prison? It's for, obviously, punishment. It's for rehabilitation, and it's to keep the public safe. There are some people that cannot be rehabilitated, and so the only option is to keep the public, and that includes the prison officers that are charged with their care, away from, it's just to separate them away from literally anyone. So that's the obvious solution. But there's a bigger problem of complete lack of discipline, of impropriety, of lack of decent behaviour in prisons. You have prisoners that smoke weed openly in prison. You go to some prisons, there just stinks of marijuana. You have prisoners that just laze around just playing video games all day. I'm not saying we should look at El Salvador, which has its own problems, but we should look at places like Japan, for example. They actually make their prisoners work. They have a very strict daily schedule. They wake up at 7, they have an hour lunch break. They actually do physical work. They act like basically soldiers in training. That's not only a form of rehabilitation, but you also decrease the influence of these jihadists that are getting into people's ears. Because if you're lazing about idly, you're more likely to be influenced by evil ideologies.
The facts show that Islamists are just running UK jails, just normal.
It's a big problem in Europe as well. One of the largest prisons in Europe,
there's a big problem everywhere with it, isn't there?
Wow.
So what is the common denominator there? Radical Islamism. But anyway, so the jihadi prisoners are running just kind of general prisons, right? And then the solution to that is to lump some of the most notorious ones into somewhere that they'd much rather be, which is places like HMP Franklin. I mean, where would you be, Jonathan, on the idea of unending solitary confinement for the rest of your natural life for people like Anjem Choudhury?
I think that solitary confinement is a policy option that should be reserved for the most dangerous offenders if there is concrete evidence from multiple experts that this prisoner poses a direct risk to his fellow inmates or to prison staff.
So would you release Tommy Robinson from solitary confinement?
Well, I think he asked to be there for his own safety.
That's for his own. I think he's there for his own safety.
I don't think he did ask for it, but I think the first time round, the second time round, he didn't. He was forced into it. He didn't want to be solitary.
Well,
it's a good question.
Alex, I don't.
Hardest criminal.
I don't busy myself with the prison treatment.
No, but it's a question. If you're saying it should, I'm not. I don't. It's a hypothetical question. Because we spend a lot more money. I'm sure maybe Robert Jenrick can clarify this when he comes on later, but we spend a lot more money on solitary confinement given the extra resources needed for it. I don't think it's a long-term solution.
Well,
what's the solution?
I do think there should. I think.
Well, a prison island. Come on.
Well, no, we should have more. Yes. I think in the most extreme cases where someone cannot be rehabilitated and their crimes are so heinous, I do think there should be some public discussion about the death penalty, because at some point it just gets ridiculous.
Look, just to say, these are people. Some of them, in the case of Hashim Abidi, helped to build a bomb that blew up 22 people and injured just over 1,000 others in an arena full of, children, women, and obviously there were a fair few adults in there as well, but it was an Ariana Grande concert. So that guy is a sicko, is a monster. I don't think there's any coming back from that. And what you've heard from Anjem Choudhury there is we've plonked him in a place where he's very happy. They're all okay. They're surrounded by other radicals. They just sit around and talk about radical Islam all day. They don't have any engagement with any kind of de-radicalisation programme to speak of whatsoever. Well, should they not be punished to the point someone like Hashim Abidi, who's done the most unspeakable things, his life should be miserable, shouldn't it?
Well, how do you punish him?
Well,
he's already in prison.
Just a black, dark cell until the day he dies.
I don't think that prisoners should be given massive luxuries, for example, if they are the most violent offenders and they pose direct risks to other people around them, for sure. I don't know if permanent solitary confinement for the rest of their lives.
But the thing is, that's not actually a punishment. No, seriously, we have given these people, by our standards, the worst form of punishment, which is to be isolated from the rest of society. You put them in a room all day, guess what they're going to do? Sit there and ruminate over their dangerous ideology 24/7. There should be no such thing as an idle prisoner. If you are there and you've committed a crime against society, every waking moment of your life should be going into being a productive member of society. I don't care whether that's stitching socks, I don't care whether that's crushing bricks, I don't care what it is, but you should not be allowed the luxury of sitting there to ruminate over your evil ideology.
The reality is that Patrick's ideas are similar to mine, but they're never going to happen in this country because of the Human Rights Act and the ECHR and all these sorts of things. We could never do them anyway. Even that we couldn't do. My biggest concern is these people are going to be back on the streets. They will one day. Many of them, many of the people that Anjem Choudhury and others have radicalised that we don't know are now severely radical, terrorist level radical, will be back on Britain's soil, back on our streets, out of the prisons. They are going to pose the biggest threat to this country, and they'll radicalise others.
But this is why we have to focus on. This is why we have to focus on.
We have left it far too long. We do need to have an island or a max security prison where, unfortunately, if you are that level, if you've caused terror attacks, you go, and that's it. You're done.
I think that everyone has to be. I think everyone has to be given the opportunity to be rehabilitated and to demonstrate they can be rehabilitated.
Everyone.
Well, I think everyone has to be given. Look, everyone
a man who built a bomb that killed.
Everyone has to be given. A chance at rehabilitation. I'm not saying that everyone will be rehabilitated.
None of them will be rehabilitated.
I don't know that that's true either.
How do you prove rehabilitation? Well, because there was a bloke that did the Fishmonger's Hall attack who said he was rehabilitated, and for all the world seemed
there was no completely fail-safe way to go about this. But I do believe that prison has to be offer people some kind of chance at life. It shouldn't just be punishment. Of course, it has to be punishment, but it can't just be that. And that's why the government is turning to Texas of all places to see how they focus on rehabilitation.
Emirati Sheikh warned us about this in 2017. He put out a damning statement to the West saying, we don't want them in our country, and this is the Emirates.
Yeah, but this conversation goes further than radical Islamists, though. It does. What about the acts of Rudy Cabanas? I'm sorry, we often complain about how much it costs.
Well, he was a terrorist in my opinion. He just wasn't under the eyes of the law.
Yes, but there are radicals of all shades, and we often complain how much it costs to keep these people that are likely never going to get out, or aren't going to get out for a long time, how much it keeps to keep them in prison alive and the taxpayer done.
Can I just very quickly say that if El Salvador is the model for this, that is demonstrably imprisoning people who have not been convicted of any crime, the Trump administration, that is not rubbish. The vast majority of people do not have. Okay, but the Trump that you guessed El Salvador was the model, and they've literally sent people who have no criminal record to this place, and they're not terrorists. If that's the model, then that is absolutely not the model we should be following.
We don't have a range of views here on this panel, because we've got Jihadi Island, we've got hang 'em and flog 'em, and then we've got rehabilitate. So it's a trifecta there for you, isn't it? But anyway, probably not the worst one, but it's up there. The most screeching handbrake turn I've ever done. It's time now for the Great British Giveaway. It's our biggest prize today.
You could be spending your summer in style on the road in this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. Imagine the fun you could have in this luxurious home from home worth over £67,000. It sleeps 4, comes with integrated kitchen and bathroom spaces, and comfortably has space for all the family. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you £5,000 in tax-free cash to make your next getaway a great one. It's our biggest prize package ever, and it could be all yours. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Coming up, all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages and some breaking news tonight as the Prime Minister just dashed hopes of a US trade deal, apparently, by cozying up to the EU. Oh, and it has been a bad day for some Americans.
Out here with our audience, so.
Yeah, I'll reveal all about what happens to the Vice President and also Jeff Bezos. But first, Shadow Justice Minister Robert Jenrick is demanding that Labour release censored court documents relating to grooming gang monsters. I'm just wondering, what is it they're trying to hide? He's live in the studio next.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Dubes & Co. Weekdays from 6 p.m.
This is the sport of fencing. A female competitor who has been asked to fence a trans competitor takes the knee and shows her opponent some respect, but says the following: "I'm sorry, I cannot do this. I am a woman, and this is a man, and this is a woman's tournament, and I will not fence this individual." The female athlete was then shown the black card and was disqualified. The fencing authority, they're saying that they've got a transgender and non-binary athlete policy. It was designed to expand across to the sport of fencing to create inclusive and safe spaces. They say that it's based on the principle that everyone should have the ability to participate in sports, and ultimately they will always err on the side of inclusion. Kelvin McKenzie, I was so proud of that girl because she's going to get a monumental backlash now, believe you me. I've never understood why more female athletes have not turned around and said, with respect, you know, with dignity, I respect you as a person, but as a sporting competitor, this is not fair and therefore I shall not partake.
Yes. Well, she's brave. She's also brave because the trans lobby is enormously powerful and vile. The thing I couldn't understand about it is why the fencing authorities who run that sport haven't acted in the same way as the athletic authorities have it done in this country. They basically said we're not going to run trans people against whichever sex that they want to be in because they dominate it. They dominate it through their power. And imagine what would happen in women's rugby, for instance. Just think about that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Welcome back. So, some breaking news on the front of the Telegraph this evening, which is that the Prime Minister has apparently just dashed hopes of a US trade deal by cozying up to the EU, but we'll get onto that in a few minutes' time. First, though, so the Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick is tonight, in this very studio, urging the government to release the full court transcripts from historic grooming gang trials. This follows a controversial decision last week by Mr Justice Rose, who denied a request from campaign group Open Justice UK for the release of the full transcript of a 2016 trial at Bradford Crown Court, where 12 men were convicted of sexually exploiting a teenage girl in Keighley in Yorkshire. Well, I am joined now by the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Generally. Thank you very much. Great to have you on the show.
Good to be here.
I suppose the question for me would be, you know, what are they trying to hide? Do we not have a right to know what is being said in these court documents?
Well, it's deeply concerning that the public can't access historic rape gang trial transcripts. These aren't just legal documents, they're historical documents that tell the story in detail of some of the worst crimes in our recent history, how they were committed, how they were covered up and enabled, and then belatedly, finally exposed and brought to justice. And the fact that some judges are choosing to deny organisations the right to have these, to put them in the public domain, despite the fact that these were trials that were heard in public anyway. This was all on the public record. And it's only when people hear the full, unalloyed details of these cases that actually it's often brought home to people. If you remember at the beginning of the year, it was when court transcripts began to circulate on social media that people realised that grooming gangs was really a euphemism and that this was absolutely abhorrent practices. And there was a fantastic speech in the House of Commons the other day by my colleague Katie Lamb, where very powerfully she read out an extract from one of the transcripts, and the House was silent, and her speech has gone viral, and millions of people have watched it. So it's incredibly important that the full details of these trials gets into the public domain so people can understand what's happened, and the public and victims can get the transparency that they crave. And because some of these are being almost covered up by judges, the victims and the public, I think, are right to ask, in whose interests are they serving? What possible rationale is there for doing this? And it just adds further insult to injury to the victims of these terrible crimes.
Well, if it's so bad that there's a sense from judges that we need to be shielded from the content of it, then maybe that does really seriously imply how absolutely awful the situation is and how widespread it is. But is this within the current Justice Minister Shabana Mahmood's brief to do something about this, to issue some kind of ruling or diktat that these need to be released? Is she capable of doing that?
Yes. Well, it's generally left to the individual judges to make their decisions. But what we're seeing is that there's almost a postcode lottery where some judges are saying that the transcript should be released and some are not. And they're applying the law in an uneven way in different parts of the country, which just once again creates a sense of unfairness, ladling unfairness upon unfairness in this most terrible situation of the grooming gang scandal. And so what I'm asking for is the Justice Secretary to intervene, maybe with the Lady Chief Justice as well as the most senior judge in the country, release these transcripts so they can finally be in the public domain. And can we have the disinfectant that comes through openness and transparency? And I think that Shabana Mahmood should do this. I've written to her today asking her to do it.
So you've written to her, asking to, we had to hear back as it currently says. It's important to say as well that when we had this issue in January, which you alluded to there, which is when some of the details started coming out, it wasn't just about the horrific crimes that had been committed. There was also an extract which showed that a magistrate judge in one part of the country had solicited prostitution from an underage girl, but then was the magistrate in her case for solicitation, which then means really they were marking their own homework. And it's that kind of idea of a cover-up that really made people think, well, we need a full national inquiry to see how far the tentacles of this go, something that sadly has been lacking at the moment. But just to knock us on to a story that we spoke about a little bit earlier on, which is also very much within your brief. I mean, you were hearing there was exclusive audio recordings of Anjem Chowdhury, probably Britain's most notorious jihadi, talking about how it's a complete ridiculous idea that people can be de-radicalised, that these so-called segregation units are basically like kind of playgrounds for some of the most notorious Islamists that we've got. What should we do? What would your solution be? You know, knowing what we know now off the back of this Hashim Abedi alleged case, you know, what's the solution to Britain's most notorious jihadis behind bars for you, do you think?
Well, I'm very worried about the situation in some of our prisons. Islamist gangs are ruling the roost, and governors and the Ministry of Justice have been appeasing them, frankly, in recent years. The use of separation centres is clearly not working because you're seeing individuals living together, feeding off each other, the worst people radicalising others, and, as we learned very tragically at the weekend, having access to materials that could be used as weapons to seriously assault prison officers. I think we need to have root and branch reform of the way in which we house these individuals so they're genuinely contained, because the safety of prison officers has to be put first every single time. I don't frankly care about the welfare of Islamist terrorists who are in our prisons. I care about the brave men and women who are doing a tough job, often for not very much money, working in our prisons. They should be able to go to work every day knowing that they're as safe as they can be. And that is not the case right now. I've spoken to prison officers. I've had contact from many over the course of the last 24 hours. And some of them working in places like HMP Frankland feel scared. They feel underappreciated, and they don't think their governors have their backs.
OK, well, thank you very, very much for your time this evening. It's always a pleasure. It's Robert Jemrick there, who is the Shadow Justice Secretary. Well, a spokesperson for the judiciary said last week transcripts of court hearings can be provided following approval by a judge. Requests are dealt with on a case-by-case basis and are subject to judicial discretion. And the Ministry of Justice spokesperson also said, we will continue to drive forward reforms to protect more children from abhorrent abuse and support more adult survivors on those traumatic crimes. The release of court transcripts to interested parties is a matter for the relevant independent judge to consider. Well, there we go. Coming up, very first look at tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and apparently some breaking news tonight, which I'm yet to see because I've been trapped in here, but the Prime Minister may well have dashed hopes of a US trade deal by cozying up to the European Union. Oh, and some Americans did have a little bit of a rough day yesterday.
Out here with our audience, so...
Yeah, I'll reveal exactly what's going on in those clips shortly. Stay tuned.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're hoping to get away for the rest of the Easter holidays, I'm afraid it's rather unsettled across the central Mediterranean. Heavy showers, thunderstorms and also some strong winds. Largely dry across Madeira and the rest of the Canary Islands, though, particularly after all the heavy rain recently. But as we shift our way eastwards, heavy showers affecting much of the central Mediterranean. These could have hail and also some thunder and some strong winds associated with them too. Largely dry across Greece, and it's turning largely dry for all as we head into Saturday, with temperatures widely in the mid to high teens to low 20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as
and now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back. Here are tomorrow's newspaper front pages for you, hot off the press. The Metro goes, Stars Trek is a waste of space. 10-minute rocket trip by, quotes, astronauts is beyond... This is jealousy. This front page is dripping in jealousy. If you'd have given that journalist there, Laura Harmon, who, by the way, I'm sure is a lovely person, the opportunity to go to space, I think she'd have obviously said
40 minutes. They should have left them there.
OK, the iPaper. 11 million extra people will pay income tax after Reeves turns to UK's pensioners for budget help. Yeah, fantastic. How many people who've just arrived in this country
not
won't
really,
be paying?
Not really help, it's theft, isn't it, really? But
yeah, for budget help.
Yeah.
You can help out by paying tax and ripping it out of your inheritance.
Money.
Yeah, Daily Express. It's a betrayal. Backtrack on travel pledge for our heroes. Oh, here we go. Navy hero Peter Kent says that veterans have been betrayed by the government after they U-turned and refused to fund their final D-Day salute. This is terrible.
That's very petty.
Labour has turned its back on the few Second World War survivors left by reneging on a pledge made to the Daily Express to pay for their return to Normandy. This is an absolute shock. Right, we're going to return to that one. Yeah. The Daily Express, Starmer's EU reset risks US trade deals. So, look, essentially, if Starmer cozies up to the European Union too much with a trade deal, then the US might pull back from a trade deal. Who could have seen that coming? Oh, yeah, everyone. The Daily Mail, now China is handed access to NHS medical records. Well, yeah, fine. I mean, I suppose that's legally for a change because they've just been able to access them illegally from the dawn of time. Sorry, I haven't planned this, but I've been startled by this Daily Express front page, so we're going to zone in on it. So we are, depressingly now, every single year, there are fewer and fewer D-Day veterans, aren't there, for obvious reasons. You would have thought that the government would be able to fund this trip to them, to Normandy, in June. I can sense a GB News mission here. So watch out. Sorry, whoever our chief financial officer is.
You're going to fund them yourselves. I love that.
I'm not going to make any promises. I'm very keen to say this is ridiculous. Shouldn't the government be paying for this?
Yeah, this is another terrible betrayal of people who, saved us from Nazism. Quite frankly, we put it as bluntly as that. They saved us from the Nazi invasion. They risked their lives on missions like D-Day, and the fact that the government came out and said they're going to back it, then to renege on it, it's just
I tell you what, if you did decide to hand this over to GB News viewers and listeners, we'd raise the money.
Yes, we would.
In seconds.
Yeah.
But this is incredibly petty. Not only it's not like it got lost in the mail. They actually chose to respond and said no. Are you kidding?
Shameful government.
This is incredibly petty.
Shameful.
We've got the money for everything else, Jonathan.
I mean, I think it's a strange decision. I'd need to see the fine print of it.
We're being trolled. Like this.
I don't think it could be as bad as Rishi Sunak and what he did at the D-Day.
No, this is way worse. This is way worse. This is these people's last chance to remember their friends and family that may have died in a war. Yeah. Rishi Sunak made a terrible administrative error, which was very, very bad, but this is worse.
I think that all veterans should be given the chance to go if they want. Of course I do.
Yeah, and look, I will, despite, the Daily Express, by the way, have been pretty, categorical about this. This is breaking news, it's on the front page. Maybe there's some kind of reply from the Labour Party on page 4 that says this is a crock of rubbish and we're going to pay for it. I doubt it, given
the Daily Express only ever prints the unvarnished truth, as we know, Patrick.
Oh, absolutely. A fine, heroic paper that is about to embark on a wonderful crusade. But Navy hero Peter Kent, there's a picture of him on the front there, which if you're watching us on television, you're able to see. Bless him. You look at people like that, the very best of us, that we're going to lose that generation, a generation that we're never going to get back again. That calibre of person, you think, goodness gracious me, if they want to go to Normandy, then the government should blooming well pay.
Can't even be that many of them, really, Patrick. That's the thing. There can't be that many of them. We're happy to have people coming over on dinghies, costing us billions of pounds every year. It's shocking.
OK, all right, fair enough. Well, I'm getting it in my ear now that the government has said that they're going to provide some funding for them to go. Some funding, but not all of it. Give them it all. Give them it all. We're giving money to everyone else, giving money to... the irony is that on the day of this, where you're not going to give all the funding for people to go across to Normandy to see it, we're going to be accepting boatloads of illegal immigrants coming the other way that we are going to give total funding to. But anyway, it's been a bad week for some American politicians and some tech tycoons alike. So, you might have missed this, but Jeff Bezos, off of rockets and Amazon, took a bit of a tumble
with our audience, so it's been really, really incredible.
Yeah, you know, he's just sent his soon-to-be wife, jettisoned her up to the atmosphere alongside Kate Perry.
I cannot believe that relationship is real. Like, he might as well date Tupperware with makeup on it. That's how much plastic is in her face.
So rude.
It's true, and I cannot believe that relationship.
I'm sure she's a lovely person.
That just reminds me, that fall reminds me of do you remember the Neil Kinnock clip where he falls into the water in that night episode?
Yeah, you know, it does. It does, yeah. Jeff Bezos took a tumble whilst running to greet his fiancée. Lovely person, Lauren Sanchez.
Sure.
OK. He just landed back from space in a Blue Origin capsule. Anyway, then today, JD Vance had an embarrassing moment. Yes, the irony. So JD Vance unfortunately dropped the Ohio State's national championship trophy.
Well, after he smashed the economy, I suppose the next logical step, isn't it?
There he is. After they were being honoured at the White House. So ironically fumbled the ball there, but there we go. So, right, well, look, I've got a lot coming up, including something I'm going to be trying out. In Britain, we are absolutely 100% hamstrung by a cacophony of really weird regulations. Just bonkers stuff that stifles growth, stifles entrepreneurship, all of this stuff. So I'm going to be doing Weird Regulation of the Week, right? And this one will absolutely blow your mind, and we're going to be doing it after this very short break. Stay tuned.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Low pressure really dominating, an unsettled outlook. Outbreaks of heavy rain over the next few days, some strong winds at times too. And those strong winds developing as we go through this evening and overnight as this area of low pressure moves in from the south, bringing some heavy rain to western parts in particular as well. Parts of Wales, the West Country, have a yellow warning from the Met Office out through the night into Wednesday morning. The heavy rain then transferring into parts of Northern Ireland during the early hours. Elsewhere, generally quite cloudy with outbreaks of rain. Temperatures overnight generally holding up around 6 or 7 degrees due to the cloud. The winds picking up too, gales developing through the Irish Sea along southern coasts, and these strong winds spreading inland as we go through the day. Let's look at the details for Wednesday morning, and actually across northern Scotland it's a bright start for some of us, some sunny spells here, but the rest of Scotland cloudy, some patchy rain, heavy rain across Northern Ireland. There could be some localised flooding issues first thing here. The rest of England generally cloudy, and that heavy rain extending into western parts of England and Wales as well. Just some brighter skies starting to come into southern counties first thing Wednesday morning, and this sunshine slowly spreads a little further north through the day as the area of low pressure just tends to very slowly push its way northwards. So some parts of Wales, northern England, Northern Ireland, southern Scotland will have a wet day, some strong winds too, and it will feel quite cold. Temperatures struggling to get into the double figures here. Breezy across the rest of England and Wales, but sunny spells developing and temperatures around 17 Celsius. For Thursday, the remnants of that low pressure start pulling away and it becomes a brighter day for most with sunny spells, scattered showers. Some of the showers can be heavy at times, but some places will avoid these and stay dry all day, and temperatures around the mid-teens. It stays unsettled as we head towards the Easter weekend. Further rain at times, temperatures generally around average.
OK, welcome back. I'm just going to round up tomorrow's newspaper front pages very quickly. We've got The Guardian. Largest teaching union describes Reform UK as far-right and racist. Well, there you go. I suppose that's the NEU leader, Daniel Kebede, who was previously called to globalise the Intifada. So, I mean, that's part of the course, I think. At The Times, officials scramble to save pharma from tariffs. Bosses warn of Trump's threat to the key UK sector. We're going to whiz ourselves over now to The Sun, which is the final one of our front pages. Exclusive, Strictly shock. Gropegate. Win video clears my name. So this is the Go Compare man Win Evans, who was on Strictly, who, you know, allegedly was a bit inappropriate, claims he vehemently denies, and apparently there's video evidence that will vindicate him, a story that will no doubt grip the nation. So, right, well, I've been thinking recently a bit about how much we are economically stifled, how creativity and entrepreneurship in Britain is basically being asphyxiated by the creeping hand of the state. So, I'm very pleased to be doing the first of what I hope is a weekly segment called Weird Regulation of the Week. And I'm joined now by political commentator Avi McGregor and the policy fellow at Onward, Andrew Barclay. Now, thank you very, very much. So, Avi, I'll start with you. Now, I thought I'd set us a little scenario for this, because this is nuts. So, if I wanted to set up, OK, an organic salad stall at a market somewhere, like loads of people do, how difficult is it going to be for me to do that in modern Britain?
So there are a set of regulations for your salad van that means that every product contained within your salad, down to 0.2 grams of mint as a herb, that would have to be completely organic. There would have to be evidence from the supplier that it is completely organic through every link in the supply chain. It would be stringent on how you clean your infrastructure to make sure it was purely organic all the way through the production process.
So if I made my salad at home, right, and just in my flat, would that mean that I would have to have organic cleaners for my own flat at home? Would that be...
Essentially, the Organic Production Regulations Act of 2009 states that if you're a small business looking to grow and sell your own organic salad, you are going to be subject to industrial-level amounts of regulation, as if you were Nestle. You'd get a visit from an inspector, a.k.a. the salad police, who would demand to see certificates and evidence and documents, essentially for every herb or crumb in your garden shed. And of course, small businesses can't keep up with that excessive amounts of regulation. So market traders and small businesses are being crushed by this culture of compliance.
I mean, this is it. What these soil sniffers don't seem to realise is that regulation always comes at a cost to a business. Now, we talk about tax and regulation as though they're two separate entities, but regulation is just a stealth tax because there's a cost that comes with complying to it. So you've got the ongoing compliance cost, you've got the initial application form, you've got the indirect cost of the 3 to 6 months it costs for the Soil Association to get your certification to say you're organic.
I just love, by the way, sorry to interrupt you, but I just love the fact that there's... So people, if you wanted to set up, like, just a salad van, right, from home and then take it to a market, you can get a knock on the door at random from the Soil Association.
The Soil Association.
And if you are found to have, say, one tomato in your fridge that has been anywhere near a pesticide, just one tomato, they just shut your business down.
But the weirdest part about this regulation, the thing that I'm most flummoxed by, is that there's no such thing as an organicitarian, is there? Someone who can only eat organic products. Now I've said that, there probably is. And it's not a contamination issue. We're not talking about salmonella or E. coli or hygiene here. What the organic label is essentially a marketing tool, isn't it? To show I have a premium product. So by that definition, that means that the UK marketing regulations for salad is nearly as strict as the UK marketing regulations for nicotine products.
That's just insane, isn't it? I mean, this would be a barrier for anyone that just wants to have an idea about setting up a business.
Of course it would. I mean, we make it much easier probably to get a job at MI6 or MI5 than we do to sell a pot of jam down the local market. Of course it's excessive how much growth has been stifled, how many people haven't been employed, how many great products are not on our shelves because of excessive regulations by the salad police.
Yeah, and for pointless things. I can understand, by the way, you know, if you're looking at, like, salmonella in chicken or something, but that's not what we're talking about here. Yeah. We are talking about, like, pine nuts and about kale, aren't we, really? Which is just insane. So we need to do away with this pointless regulation, would be your view, I take it.
No, absolutely, but don't worry, we've got more to come, so there'll be loads that we can do away with.
This is it. So look, I'm hoping to do this every week. Thank you very much for this, but I just want to expose and shine a light on the sheer volume of totally lunatic regulations that we have in Britain, because they are seriously stifling growth. It's absolutely ridiculous, and we need to be encouraging people to go and do things, however small, like setting up a salad van, and not actually creating barriers for that. So thank you very much, both of you. Tremendous to have you on the show. I am going to finish with another quite light thing, though, show, which is, well, really, frankly, one of the most entertaining virals that I can see. This is what happens when you try to eat near a dog on a train.
Mana, mana. Mana, mana. Mana, mana.
Yeah, well, there we go. Well, coming up next is Headliners, presented this evening, and indeed every evening, by the wonderful Josh Howie. Josh, what have you got coming up on your show, mate?
We have got plenty. We've got me there. I'm here. I'm here. Oh, I was panicking for a second. Anyway, yes, speaking about regulations, we have plenty of coming up in terms of, is Starmer going to choose the EU or is he going to go with the US when it comes to getting this trade deal? That seems to be the big story of the night. Also, the House of Lords, they're going to fight against this banter ban bill. We have British defence companies. They can't actually get bank accounts in Britain. That's insane. We also have Lewis Schaefer and we have Kerry Marks. It's going to be a great show. So many news stories to get through.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, look, thank you very much. Josh, make sure that you keep it GB News for the next hour at least, because Headliners is always the perfect way to round off your evening. Thank you again for the first instalment of Bonkers Regulation of the Week. I can't wait to keep bringing you those. There's also one involving non-existent bats, which I'm very keen to bring to you. I will, of course, be back tomorrow at 9 p.m. Please do also check out getting tickets for my live Friday night studio audience show. We do put on a bit of a spread for you outside as well. It's a good laugh to see how the sausage is made, for want of a better phrase. You can come into the studio now and enjoy yourselves. Go to sro.com. Just search for GB News tickets there. I'll see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Take it easy.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Low pressure really dominating, an unsettled outlook. Outbreaks of heavy rain over the next few days, some strong winds at times too. And those strong winds developing as we go through this evening and overnight as this area of low pressure moves in from the south, bringing some heavy rain to western parts in particular as well. Parts of Wales, the West Country, have a yellow warning from the Met Office out through the night into Wednesday morning. The heavy rain then transferring into parts of Northern Ireland during the early hours. Elsewhere, generally quite cloudy with outbreaks of rain. Temperatures overnight generally holding up around 6 or 7 degrees due to the cloud. The winds picking up too, gales developing through the Irish Sea along southern coasts, and these strong winds spreading inland as we go through the day. Let's look at the details for Wednesday morning, and actually across northern Scotland it's a bright start for some of us, some sunny spells here, but the rest of Scotland cloudy, some patchy rain, heavy rain across Northern Ireland. There could be some localised flooding issues first thing here. The rest of England generally cloudy, and that heavy rain extending into western parts of England and Wales as well. Just some brighter skies starting to come into southern counties first thing Wednesday morning, and this sunshine slowly spreads a little further north through the day as the area of low pressure just tends to very slowly push its way northward. So some parts of Wales, northern England, Northern Ireland, southern Scotland will have a wet day, some strong winds too, and it will feel quite cold. Temperatures struggling to get into the double figures here. Breezy across the rest of England and Wales, but sunny spells developing and temperatures around 17 Celsius. For Thursday, the remnants of that low pressure start pulling away and it becomes a brighter day for most with sunny spells, scattered showers. Some of the showers can be heavy at times, but some places will avoid these and stay dry all day, and temperatures around the mid-teens. It stays unsettled as we head towards the Easter weekend. Further rain at times, temperatures generally around average.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with sky roof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that wherever this motorhome takes you, it takes you there in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Tubes & Co. Weekdays from 6 p.m.
Common sense, I would suggest, has finally prevailed. The World Athletics Association has announced that they will introduce mandatory sex testing for anyone competing in female competition. The Olympic legend, Sharon Davies. Sharon, how do you feel about this?
Well, first of all, obviously extremely pleased. It's something I've been trying to get done for the last 10 years when the IOC changed the rules in 2015 and basically threw women's sport totally under the woke PC bus. On no peer-reviewed science whatsoever, and there's never been any peer-reviewed science ever in the world to show that we can remove male puberty advantage, and that's the whole reason why we have male and female races. You know, we can show that even in primary school children, little boys tend to run about 5% faster, and they jump and throw much further than little girls do. So we also have a Q angle, which is our angle from our hips to our knees. That's wider in a female for obvious reasons for childbirth. That puts more pressure on our knees, gives us more knee injuries, but allows males to have more cadence because obviously they're directly above their legs and their quads and their hamstrings, etc. So there's lots of benefits to being male that you can't remove by reducing testosterone, even if it was all the way through puberty.
This has also had a lot of criticism. Some people say, well, this is discriminatory to athletes that might have complex biological profiles, as they would call it. What would you say to that?
Well, it depends what you're calling complex biological profile. So if you were Caster Semenya, for example, you're biologically male, you're 46 ARD. So that means that you went through male puberty, you are male, but when you were born, sadly, you were picked up and they couldn't see your very small penis and your testes were internal. So they went, oh, this must be a female, we'll put a female on your birth certificate. But you're biologically male. And if that person had been born in this country, if there'd been any ambiguity, they would have given them a blood test and then known straight away.
The People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, it's 11 o'clock, which means it's time for tomorrow's newspapers right now. Join us over the next hour to find out, when it comes to a trade deal, who is Starmer going to take to the dance, the EU or the US? Is Barack Obama defending anti-Semitism? And does the Duchess of Sussex need help? I'm Josh Howie. Tonight's comedians are Kerry Marks and Lewis Schaefer. And this is Headliners. But before tomorrow's news, let's